Welcome, greetings and welcome to your Residents Council monthly meeting, October 19, 2021. I'm Peter Shapiro, President of the Council. I'm delighted to be with you, and we have a lot of things to cover and wonderful things to cover. We'll be doing elections. We'll be talking about our opportunity to give our appreciation in monetary terms to our wonderful employees through the Employee Recognition Fund. And then somebody's going to be talking about some parties. And if you look at the screen, you might see who that might be, just a little hint. So we'll start off with, of course, the business that we need to conduct on a regular basis. As soon as I can change my slide and introduce Connie Hillier, our secretary, to present the minutes of the September monthly meeting. Take it away, Connie.
The minutes have been circulated among the members of the council and are now submitted for your approval.
Are there any questions or comments? May I have a motion to approve?
I will move.
Okay, please signify by raising a hand and saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much, Connie. Good job as always. And the residents should remember that those minutes are available when they get published in the library in the area where in the back by the window where the resident council materials are kept. Okay, I'm going to introduce now Diane Tinker, our treasurer, for the financial report, September financial report.
Hello, we have completed our first 6 months. This is our halfway point in the year. The income for September was $7,184. Expenses were $4,572. So our net income for the month was $2,612. Our 6-month totals, income $35,653. Expenses, $31,513. So net income for the first 6 months of the year, $4,140. We continue to be sailing along in good shape.
Great, thank you always, Diane, for your great work as treasurer. Just want to point out to residents, most of you probably know this by now, but we have two calendars. We have the fiscal year calendar, which is April 1st through March 31st. And we have a calendar year calendar, which we use for our operations of terms of council members. And we'll be talking about that as we go along. And there are reasons for that. And they're good reasons. There are also good reasons to do it the other way, but we're following the practice we've had for quite a few years, having these two different calendars. So as Diane said, this is a 6-month report. Okay, I'm going to introduce Susan Barish. Cami Elbow is not here today, and Susan will give the Monday market report.
Hi, we in Monday Market are really enjoying seeing residents with family and guests, and it's showing in our revenue because the average for the month of September was $1,700 a week, which is a pretty good average, and better than we expected in years past. But anyway, so we're just hoping that we can stay open and maybe even sometime be open to the general public, which will increase things even more as long as our wonderful donations keep coming. So it's kind of dependent on that. And I'm very happy to be able to introduce Jennifer Stucker, who is already working with us in the market, and she's fabulous. And she's going to be taking over as a co-chair of the market, and her concentration will be in the clothing. And on that note, Jennifer recently had a little trip to the wine country of France, and she has a few little tidbits to share with you how Monday Market went with her on that trip. Jennifer?
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
Yes, Susan knows how much I enjoy the market, and she also knows that before my trip, I purchased quite a few things in the market for the trip. And then I told her when I got back that a lot of people, especially on our tour group, complimented me on what I was wearing each night. And the tour director, in fact, thanked me for always taking care to look appropriate at all of our visits and in the evening meal, which was always a big deal on the ship. So I thank all of you out there who have donated to the Monday Market, because you have provided us all with treasures that we can enjoy. So thank you, and hope to see you there. Thanks, Susan.
Oh, great, Jennifer.
So the Monday Market is worldwide.
That's right.
Right. This is it was France, correct? The Paris branch of the Monday Market fashion show.
Yes,
We have an office there, yes.
right. Jennifer's our delegate.
Excellent. Ambassador Stucker.
Right.
Anything else, Susan, on the Monday Market report?
No, that's it. Just keep those donations coming, and we just feel very blessed because things are moving right along, and I just hope this continues, and we're all keeping safe and doing exactly as we need to do to keep safe. So keep it up.
Everybody knows what a gem the Monday Market is in our community. How many reasons why it's so important. In addition to contributing the money, the spirit in the market, the opportunities for people to come into Price House maybe with a little too much stuff, and they can turn over things to the Monday Market, and the service that we do for families that need to disband apartments. And we provide a very timely and important service, which is always very well received by the families. Lots of things that are so great about the market. Thank you, Susan, for everything you've been doing. Thanks so much. And Jennifer, welcome into the leadership of the market. Okay, now we have the opportunity, as soon as I do what I need to do, which is now to hear from our CEO, Executive Director of Management Board, Executive Report. Mike, I have you batting cleanup again. We've had 3 speakers so far, well, 3 A and B with Jennifer, and now it's time to bring them all home.
Well, thanks, Peter. I appreciate it. And not too many updates today, but a few things that are worth mentioning. You know, once again, we had an event, Oktoberfest, where the food service team, led by Oliver, does an outstanding display for Oktoberfest, makes that day a little bit more special. And, you know, I don't know that many other communities that make that kind of effort consistently. You know, we don't go to the food service guys and say, gee, come up with some ideas. They do this on their own because they want to do it. They want to make it fun for the residents. And it's really, really great experience for all of us. I know that we have had a lot of buffets, and I don't want you to think that we're trying to backdoor this as the model of the future. We are challenged right now with staffing, you know, throughout the organization. You know, you're probably reading about this in the newspaper or online about what's taking place around the country, and you know, we're not exempt. So we are trying to make do the best we can with the staffing that we have, and try to do our very best to hire people. Our goal is to get back to the regular menu program, and, you know, perhaps intersperse it with buffets as people would like that. They've been well attended. It's fun to see people kind of get together and have a little camaraderie around the table there. But you know, rest assured, that's not the model for the future. It's just kind of what we're stuck with for the time being. Last week we had the past presidents luncheon, and that is past Board of Trustees presidents, as well as past Residents Council presidents. And this is a time when we are bringing people together who have been associated with Horizon House since 1960. And so there's a long history here. And these are people who are essentially ambassadors for the Horizon House cause out in the public. they're very interested in how we're doing, what we're doing. I think that, I share pretty straightforward stuff. I don't sugarcoat stuff. I talk about where our challenges are, where our opportunities are, what's going well, what's not going so well, much like I do with residents. And I think, and I hope that people walked away with a good understanding of the challenges we face, but have a lot of confidence in our ability to navigate those challenges too. And it's a fun time to give people a sense of how the organization has progressed since they spent time in leadership. And the one message I left with everybody there is that we all stand on the shoulders of people who've gone before us, that everyone has delivered something that we then in turn embellish when it's our turn. And that is so true for all those past presidents of the Residents Council and of the Board of Trustees. And Peter, of course, will be joining that soon, and gets a nice lunch out of the deal too.
Looking forward. I'm really.
So Peter, it's okay if you eat between now and then because it is a year away, but just giving you the heads up.
Gotcha.
We did pulled another rabbit out of the hat with these booster shots with Virginia Mason. They called us on a Wednesday afternoon and said, "Hey, we got boosters. Are you interested?" I mean, that's just like, "Hey, I found some money. Do you care?" And so I found it really kind of interesting how everybody just kind of like, no fuss, no muss, just kind of got in line and went across the street, got their shot, got the routine. So it was, we covered 86% of our residents and about 42% of our staff, and hopefully made that just a heck of a lot more convenient than for everybody having to go figure it out on their own. So I think, Lori and her team have just done a terrific job in just making sure that we get that box checked and everyone here is as safe as possible. We've also had the flu shot clinics. We had two rounds for residents and for and staff, and we're 66% of independent and assisted living residents, and about 78%, I guess. 75% received their shots at our clinics. 22% received them elsewhere. So sometimes people go to Bartell's. That's great, but we'd like to offer the convenience here. Then I was invited to a really nice lunch last week, also with that Sue Shaw put on with Dr. Grabowski, who is from the UW Memory and Brain Wellness Center, and had a chance to talk with him about a lot of optimism in memory care as he looks out into the future. And we always hear a lot about how memory care is a challenge, and of course it is. But sometimes it's a big downer. And I came away from that lunch, I didn't see his presentation, and I hope you did, with the idea that there's a lot of great work being done here that has an opportunity to mitigate the impact of some of those severe memory conditions. So all is not lost, and hopefully you were able to plug into that so that you could get some tips and be inspired by what he had to say. Last couple of things, just, keep wearing the masks in public. I know it's kind of a pain. Nobody really likes it, but it's just one more added feature on top of our vaccines to stay healthy. And then, manage the social distancing. And, I was watching the Seahawks game the other night, and it's like, man, I don't know. It's an awfully big crowd all together like that. I don't know if I'm ready for that, but certainly get together with friends and family and have some fun. But manage your distance from all those strangers. The CEO report will come out in another week and a half or so, and always encourage people just to look for the tidbits. We share a lot of info, and that's one place where you get it. And the next place you get it is the Fireside Chat, and that'll be on Friday, October 29th. And we're looking forward to seeing people in that hybrid model of in-person and online. So that's it, Peter.
Excellent. Good news. Good news. And I will be looking forward to the next edition of the Past President's Luncheon. Wow.
Right. Take care.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. I mentioned when Diane Tinker was giving the report about the 2 years that we have, I think just about everybody knows that there are reasons why it's an advantage. There are reasons why it might be better to have them coinciding. but years of experience have brought us to the point where we have the two different calendars, and the yearly calendar controls the terms of each of the members of the Residence Council. They're 3-year terms, January to December for 3 years. That overlaps with the fiscal calendar, April through end of March. So this year, we have people's terms coming to a close because of the calendar. That's Mary Ann Anderson, Susan Corning, George Counts, and me, Peter Shapiro, and Audrey Weitkamp. And what happens next, or because of that cycling, we have a nominating committee. Dick Clark is the chair. Members are Ruth Eller, Patty Flowers, Karen Gwillem, and Don Mayer. Dick is the only council member on the committee, and we don't need to, the bylaws don't say the committee chair has to be a council member, but there's a limit of only one council member on the chair. And that was a very smart move by our predecessors. It reflects the desire and the actual accomplishment of having new people coming in, not a carryover of friends of the friends who are leaving and on, and becoming a small kind of a clubby nature. And we think it works pretty well. So I'll introduce Dick now, turn it over to him to present the nominating committee slate of nominees. Dick?
Thank you, Peter. Fellow residents, the nomination committee presented to the resident council board a fine slate of 5 residents who are willing to give of their time and energy for a 3-year stint on the resident council board. I will present them to you one at a time, and each will share a few words about their background and their interests. We'll do it in alphabetical order. So Wilton Fowler, take it away.
Now,
I'm supposed to introduce myself?
Go for it.
Okay, I'm Wilton Fowler. I thank Patty Flowers for being my Zoom engineer today. I also thank the nominating committee, and I will attempt to be as faithful to the mission of that committee as, say, Mary Ann Anderson has been. I know something about the committee, but I'll learn a lot more, and I'll tell you just a few things about me.
and look up, yeah.
Here I am. Okay. I was born on the 4th of July, so naturally I have an instinct for history, and I've spent most of my life as a history professor. And one of the things in that
Look up.
category of,
Look at the screen.
I should look up, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, I need a director.
You're doing great, Will. You're doing great.
One of the things that probably shaped me more than anything else was the long time that I served as chairman of the history department at the University of Washington. And if you should be watching the comedy on TV, which is called The Chair with Sandra Oh, that pretty much describes the way that office operates, full of pleasures, but also full of miseries. After I retired from the University of Washington, I went out to China to teach for Johns Hopkins University. My intention was to be there for 1 year. I was the choice for professor of history for that outlet of Johns Hopkins in Nanjing. I will need to hold my head up. Okay. I went for 1 year, but that turned into 14 years before I finally finished. And then I moved into Horizon House, and that's the end of my biography. I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. We're glad that you're going to be on the council, I predict.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wilton. It's going to be fun to get to know you better and to have you help us continue with some of the fine things that resident council does. Next up is Deanna Nelson, who used to be my neighbor, but she got tired of me and moved to the tower. So take it away, Deanna.
Thank you. I moved to Horizon House in November of 2019 and had just gotten all my possessions put away when COVID hit. So I'd not yet assimilated into life here. I had absolutely no idea what the Residents Council was, what it did, how the Board of Trustees and administration functioned, or why there were so many resident committees and what they actually did. So as I sat in isolation, word got out that I had some competency with technology, and Peter Shapiro asked me to chair a technology committee, which would teach people how to use Zoom. My little secret was that I had no idea what Zoom was. A core group of Zoom helpers had already formed and had circulated a questionnaire. I learned to Zoom, and together we set about teaching residents what to do. I have now assimilated, and in addition to the technology committee, I serve on the communications committee, the food committee, the steering committee of secular humanists, and as an assistant treasurer helping the incredible Lila Doyle with resident council accounting. That's what I do here, but maybe you want to know who I am. I am originally a New Yorker. I know we have a reputation. We are supposedly brash, pushy, rude. Not true. What we really are is forthright, focused, and task-driven. Give us something to do and we do it. If we have an opinion, we express it. You will always get my unvarnished opinion, hopefully in a polite manner, and I work diligently to finish any job I take on. My career was as a CPA, and my husband and I owned a small CPA firm in Bellevue. I moved to the Meridian condominium down the street on Terry in 2001 and served for 4 years as the first board president and then as a board member. I also volunteered at First Place School, the Red Cross, Virginia Mason, and on many Democratic campaigns. I thank the nominating committee for choosing me, and I will work hard to keep Horizon House the unique place that it is. Thank you.
Deanna, thank you so much for your words, and we look forward to your thoughtful contributions and acknowledgments of when I and others make mistakes in a kind way.
Dick, if I could interject here a second, I had no idea, Deanna, that you didn't already know Zoom. My God.
Next on our list of nominees is Nancy Olson. And some of you who know Nancy realize that she's had recent surgery. And after you've had surgery, you're on some medications, which sometimes don't let you have your full capabilities to do the things you want to do. She's been assured by her doctors that she'll be ready to go in January. So speaking for her today, Jenny Stimson. Jenny, take it.
Thank you. This is Nancy Olson's picture, and these are her words. I'm sorry I can't be here today, and I'm grateful to Jenny for standing in for me and to Peter for making the necessary arrangements. I moved to Horizon House with my husband, Steve, 5+ years ago. Prior to that, we lived in South Seattle, and before that on Bainbridge Island, where we owned and managed Eagle Harbor Books. After we moved to Seattle, we volunteered with the lifelong recreation program of Seattle Parks, planning and leading walks throughout Seattle's varied neighborhoods. When Steve was diagnosed with dementia, we brought that concern to our involvement with the parks, helping to start a dementia-friendly recreation program that included bi-weekly neighborhood walks for folks living with memory loss and their care partners. At Horizon House, my commitments have centered around neighborhoods and library committees. With neighborhoods, I planned programs on Belltown, Magnuson Park, and other Seattle destinations. I also organized Saturday morning walks to nearby Seattle neighborhoods. When COVID prevented our gathering together, I shifted to planning a series of self-guided walks in the greater First Hill neighborhood. Those walks are available to you at the front desk and on HH Connects. With the library committee, my chief responsibility is for maintaining our little free library on the corner of University and Terry. I've also collaborated with the First Hill Improvement Association to help maintain the other little free libraries here on First Hill. I want to mention that Steve lived the last year of his life in supported living here at Horizon House, and I spent lots of time with him there. This brought me knowledge of and great appreciation for the supported living staff and programming. I'm looking forward to serving on the Residents' Council in order to contribute in whatever way to our resident-driven culture. Thank you.
Jenny, thanks for reading that. And Nancy, we hope for your quick recovery and look forward to your service with us on the board. Sally Wren, I know, likes fresh seafood, so if you want to know where to get some, she'll tell you about it. But in the meantime, Sally, tell us a little about yourself. Take it away.
Thank you. I was born with humor, and I like to say that I was born in Missouri under a rock, but I got out. And so I just wanted to go on to say that I also feel I was born just full of enthusiasm and curiosity. And the 13 years I spent on the farm, however, in Missouri, with my siblings, 8 siblings, my parents, my aunt, and the community, it was community living. I learned about honesty, kindness, follow the rules, be responsible, and be resilient. And most of all, have faith and have courage. And my mother used to say, Sally has never met a stranger. And so I try to live up to my mother's saying and have new friends since we moved here. John, my husband, current husband, and I of 37 years moved here again, like Deanna, just before the shutdown. We moved in November 1st, but actually lived here as of December 15th. And I love it here. And the thing that I found most interesting about Horizon House is every time I had something about where do I find something, it was always either a room or the concierge. It's wonderful. And the other thing, then at 14 years old, back to my under a rock, I got out, we moved to Southern California. And that was a whole new experience of learning and adventure. At 19, when I was in college, I was exposed to a thing called the stock market from Orange County, having the only direct wire to New York City at that time. And so my goal of a lifetime was to be a stockbroker. Then at age 32, I came to Seattle, a single mom with 2 children, my beautiful children, and that goal became a reality. And during all my 24 years with Merrill Lynch as a broker, I especially enjoyed not only my wonderful customers, but teaching goal planning and financial planning, and would teach that to the Y, junior colleges, wherever I was asked. I have served on the board of several nonprofits, as well as a term on 2 terms on the Chamber of Commerce. And I love serving above self from Rotary. And I love this community and am honored and pleasured and fortunate to be here and to serve the best ways that I can. And thank you all for nominating me. And I am looking forward to my 3 years with the Horizon House Council. Thank you.
Sally, thank you for those words, and we look forward to your humor and maybe learn a little bit more about Under the Rock in your previous life. Some of you know that one of the nominees we had, Fran Mercer, decided for her own sake it was best to withdraw. So we quickly went to work and we found another wonderful person to fill that fifth position. And I'd like to introduce to you now Carol Roach and thank her for taking up that fifth position, and tell us a little bit about yourself, Carol.
I think you need to unmute.
Oh, sorry. Now you can hear me, I hope.
Yeah.
I'm Carol Roach. My husband and I have lived here for about 2.5 years, and we've met terrific people here, both among the residents and the staff. A little about my background. My graduate work was in applied English linguistics, and I've taught English to many different populations, ages, and skill levels. I've taught in 6 states, retiring after 15 years at Seattle Central College. And I've found my most satisfying niche in teaching with adult refugees and immigrants. Volunteer work, like so many of us, has shaped my perspectives as well. In one example, my husband Bill and I became friends and advocates of a wonderful immigrant family with 3 children who were living in a homeless tent encampment. Our relationship with that family lasted for several years, during which they eventually moved into good permanent housing in Federal Way. The mom recovered from cancer. The dad got a good job with benefits at the airport, and the 3 children continued to thrive in their new school. We did not solve their problems, they did, with plenty of help from social workers, of course. But we did help in small ways as accompaniers on their journey. At Horizon House 2, we rely on each other to become accompaniers. And in the past 2 years, our lives have all been stunted by this pandemic. We're all aware that quite a few of us have suffered profoundly from increased physical and emotional decline because of the long-term stress and isolation. Our staff and residents have already initiated excellent efforts to address this need, and I'd like to see the Residents Council find even more ways to expand that outreach. At the same time, I see plenty of signs of exhaustion and burnout on the faces of our staff who are working under unusual stress due to the nationwide labor shortage. I applaud the Residents Council for all their efforts to lead us in modeling appreciation, reward, and respect for our extraordinary staff. I will be happy to join the Residents Council in that work and in all of their efforts.
Carol, thank you so much for being a part of this fine group of 5 people that are coming on board. And before I turn it over to Audrey, whom I believe is next, I want to thank each of you for agreeing to serve on the Resident Council. And now, fellow residents, honor these 5 by filling out cast your ballot and get it done today. And Audrey will tell you more about that, but that shows the support you want to give them as they begin this journey with us. So back to you, Peter.
And Dick, yes, I want to thank you and your phenomenal committee for the great work you've done. I mean, it was a lot of work, and there were unusual circumstances, and we have a wonderful group of nominees, and I want to thank them. I am so impressed. I knew quite a bit about some of them, hardly anything about others, and now I am just in awe of this wonderful group that has agreed to serve, and I want to thank them for that. So, Vice President for Administration, Audrey Weitkamp, will talk us through the procedure, which of course is affected by the fact that we are meeting virtually still, different than what would have been before the pandemic struck, and she'll explain what's going on. Audrey?
Thanks, Peter. What you will find in your mailbox today is 1 or 2 ballots, depending on how many people live in your apartment. If you didn't get it or didn't get enough, please call me 6661. There are 3 ballot boxes. One is in the mailroom, right below where all the pictures of the nominees is. Second one is on the first floor, where you take the elevator up to the North Tower. The third is in the assisted living. We may not appreciate meeting so often in Zoom, but for the last 2 years now, we've been able to include people in assisted living, watching the program as they are, and having their own ballot box. I have put a little container of pencils next to each of the ballot boxes. So when you take your ballot out of the mailbox, don't carry it up and lose it in the compost pile on your desk if you have one, but instead just check it off. You might ask, why should we bother voting when it's not really competitive? We have already 5 very good people. There was a time when it was competitive, when there was a very big fight in the resident council about how it should be managed. But since then, we have had, I don't think I have seen nominations from the floor. But what you can do by voting is just to acknowledge that these 5 very busy, very talented people are willing to donate a lot of time and effort, and as a way of thanking them for their work. And that's all I have to say. So mark off on your ballot. It's either accept or reject.
Excellent, excellent work, Audrey, as ever. You've taken a complicated situation and you made it seem easy. And I know you put a lot of work into it. And thank you for that and everything else you're doing. I pick up the banner right now to go on to the next step of the turnover of personnel, of members of the Residents' Council, and that is to appoint a special nominating committee. And I have done that, and this is the committee. The special nominating committee is chaired by Susan Corning. Audrey is on the committee as another member, and Marianne Anderson is the 3rd member. So what is the role of the special nominating committee? Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad you asked. They will present to the council at its next meeting in early November, not the monthly general meeting, but a planning meeting, which I believe is on November 9, Tuesday, the 2nd Tuesday. They will present a slate of nominees for the offices, the president, 2 vice presidents, secretary, and treasurer. The meeting is attended by the current members, the current outgoing members, the incoming members, and everybody has a say in what's going on. The slate is presented and an election is held to determine the holders of those offices, which are effective in January at the turnover of the terms, and each run for a year. So you'll be learning about who the new leadership is after we finish that work next month, early next month. Now, I don't have a slide guru with me, so I have to be my own as best I can. And go on to the next event, which is, as Carol mentioned, such an important opportunity for us to show directly our appreciation in monetary terms I know just about all of you have developed good relationships with a lot of the employees, and they appreciate that, and they know your appreciation of what they do for all of our community. But now's the time to add a little bit of, stuff as well. So here is Elizabeth Hoover, who is the chair of the Employee Recognition Fund Drive.
Hi, everybody. We're about halfway in our Employee Recognition Fund Drive this year. And so far, a bit fewer than half of us residents have contributed. Let me remind you, it's only at this precise time each year, just once a year, that we are given this opportunity to convey this tangible thank you to our employees who work so diligently to make our lives here at Horizon House the enjoyable experience we all deserve. Rather than thank only those employees who are most visible to us all, we find it more equitable when our donations are deposited into a special gift fund to provide a collective thank you in recognition of all qualified employees, even those who serve behind the scenes. Now, last year, 89% of us residents contributed for a total of nearly $400,000, making it possible to give significant gift checks. And every cent donated in these drives is given to the employees. Any money received after November 15, though, is held for next year's drive. Don't you agree, though, it is most effective to conduct our fund drive now, at this particular time of the year, just before the holidays, making our gifts even more appreciated by our employees and hopefully boosting their morale? Our gifts may be even more effective this time during this highly competitive period for qualified workers in our city. By this time next month, our drive will be over. So now is the time to make a contribution if you have not done so already. November 15, as I said, is the cutoff date to allow time, just enough time to prepare the gift checks for the distribution at the annual holiday party for employees in early December. You know that checks must be payable to the Residents' Council. We're the ones conducting this one drive this year. Please join us in repeating our traditional generosity to the ERF. We're all in this together, right?
That is such a wonderful event. I hope we'll be within a year or two able to get back to where we have the families coming in as well as the employees filling the fireside lounge and the terrace lounge below, and just having a wonderful family event with while we give our appreciation and thanks to them. There'll be something a modified, less extensive event because we cannot have the families coming in, but it is a really joyous time, and your contributions will make it a actually practical event in terms of making their holidays even better than without that. So thank you very much, Susan. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, for doing the great job that you're doing. And I know we'll have a very successful outcome. Please, everybody, don't let it linger. If you're a day late, you're $1,000 short, whatever that contribution might have been. It'll go to the next year's group and not this year's. So thank you so much, Elizabeth. And now, talking about parties, well, not necessarily that party, we have a spotlight, and our phenomenal spark plug, one of many spark plugs, but perhaps the most sparkly of spark plugs, who must have known that Wilton Fowler was born on July 4th and therefore dressed appropriately, right? Is that correct, Zoa?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So just like, when I asked Deanna to be the chair of technology, the Zoom thing, I had no idea she didn't know it. Anyway, Zoa, you are a veritable dynamo, and take it away.
Thank you, Peter. Happy Halloween, everyone. We have a tremendous Halloween party committee working day and night to produce a fabulous party for your spooktacular enjoyment. We are going to gather Friday, 2:00, October 29th in Anderson Hall for a grand parade, entertainment, gifts, goodies, pumpkin weight contest, Friday night movie, pumpkin decorating contest, frights, chills, music, and everything COVID restrictions will allow. Please don't be shy. It's time to get down wild and crazy. Costume up, and we hope to see you Friday, October 29th, 2:00, Anderson Hall. Please be sure and stop by for a spell. Thank you, Peter.
Oh, thank you, Zoa. When I saw your hat in the cameo, I didn't realize that it was more than just red, white, and blue. You're showing all the colors of our community. No question.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything you and your
And be there.
Be there. Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now we sober up a little bit. Not really, because Audrey's such a nice person. And she returns to finish up the rest of her Vice President for Administration duties in this meeting. Thanks, Audrey.
Thanks, Peter. The Bylaws Committee meets at least once a year, and the amendments that we proposed and that the council members voted on at their planning meeting are all pretty much housekeeping things. There wasn't anything terribly controversial. If there had been, then we would be presenting it to all of you for your input. There is a copy of the proposed amendments on the bulletin board in the mailroom. It's the resident council bulletin board that's, as you walk into the mailroom, it's on the wall on your left-hand side. And what I've done is I've marked the new wording with red ink, and the anything that's being taken out of the amendments or the bylaws is been crossed out. So there were two amendments in the bylaws. One is simply an expansion of the job description for the secretary. It really only told a small amount that the secretary does, and this gives credit and points out the responsibilities. The second is a more accurate description of how our funds must be dispersed every year. For the last couple of years, we have kept money back, 2 years of operating expenses as a reserve fund. Very luckily, we haven't had to dip into it yet, but you never know what's going to happen this winter. And so the amendment simply says all the funds have to be dispersed by the end of the year, except for the reserve fund. There was one amendment to a policy, and that again talks about the reserve fund. And it's a clearer and a more concise description. So if you're interested in seeing this stuff in writing, it's up on that bulletin board. Now I'm going to go, luckily we're about 10 minutes left. I'm going to go immediately to the questions and answers. And I have a good question this time, brought to you by a resident. And how is the lunch service in the dining room different from the evening? You know, in the evening, it's called a buffet, but it's more like a cafeteria. What happens at lunchtime? Well, lunchtime looks like the old dining room. You get a reservation, so call and get a reservation. And then you're going to be seated at a table, and you're going to have a waiter come to you, take your order. You're going to look at the menu, and you're going to be able to order what is the specialty, but you're also going to be able to order anything else on that, you know, that everyday menu with the hamburgers and that kind of stuff, the salads. It's really like the old dining experience. So I recommend that everybody try the lunch. It'd be a nice time to you know, feel like you're having a real dining experience and talk to your neighbors, you know, invite somebody that you don't know very well so that you can get to know them better over a really nice lunch. And that's the end of my answers.
Great. Thank you, Audrey, for everything that you do. And wow, we save people 9 minutes. I want to enjoy it and have fun with that. I wanted those before I bang the gavel, the virtual gavel, which has no sound and no weight, down on this meeting. I want to thank everybody who's participating, especially the incoming council members, my colleagues who are leaving with me, and the people who will be continuing on in the great service. But even more than that, I want to express my huge appreciation for our production, a technical production person. You all know her. She's behind the scenes right now, running the show, the technical aspects of the Zoom webinar, and that, of course, is Risa Ransom. And she is, of course, a superstar in this community, and has a well-deserved and important promotion, which not only shows the recognition, but also means that we're going to be better served than we have been for a while, as her additional duties are being handled so well. So Risa, golly, you are just so great, and thank you so much. And now with that, at 3:58 on my 2:58 on my watch, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.